So you decided to get a student job, but what do you want to work on? Where do you start to look? What do you need to prepare? And is having a job even worth your time? Finding a student job can be a confusing and time-consuming project. In this video, I will walk you through the full process of getting a student job and also show you some tips and tricks. I hope this will help you to structure your thoughts and actions so that you can grow your skills and fill your pocket. Hello and welcome to Study Fox, the channel for clever students who want to make the best of their lives. I'm your host, João. I put together a straightforward process that will help you to find the right student job. That doesn't mean that there aren't other methods and shortcuts. You may face different circumstances. There may not be many opportunities locally in your region. In some parts of the world, having connections is a must. But most of what I cover here is applicable to students from most domains in most places. So let's start. The first thing you want to ask yourself is, what do I want to specifically gain from a student job? That is crucial for defining your search radius in many senses. There are many reasons for wanting a student job, so I want to list a few and you can pick the ones that apply to you. Let's say you want experience. So what does that even mean? I will define experience like this: having insights into how it's like to work in your field. This helps you to connect the dots in the future. Strengthening specific skills, be it technical, managerial, interpersonal, giving your CV a boost, and gaining more confidence when you look for opportunities on the job market later. Money will surely be an important factor. An additional income to cover the living costs and repaying student loans can be necessary for students who don't have sufficient financial backing. A relevant job can help you to build a network. Many students that I've known took a full-time job in the same place after graduation, or they got in touch with other professionals in the scope of their student job position. This way, they can talk to them about opportunities in other places. Some students take a job because it can be a good way to socialize. Finally, many students want a job because they want to check how they can manage their time, their income, and deal with responsibility. For most students, it's the first job, and they like to test the waters. I will put experience on one side and income on the other side. Let's treat networking, socializing, and self-management as side effects for now. If you want experience, you will face much more difficult circumstances. The opportunities can be very limited depending on your domain. The jobs may already require some expertise. They mainly address senior students. So you may have to improve your skills for another 1 or 2 years to apply in the first place. Since there are less opportunities, it can take months or even years, if at all, to get a student job. What's on the income side then? If you need a job next month because income has a high priority, you can't afford to wait to get your dream job. But fortunately, you can look at a huge market with several new job openings every day. Jobs that don't have entry requirements. Jobs that are not even tied to your region because they can be done online. Now determine where you find yourself on that line. Then we can move around the line and adjust depending on your individual circumstances. Now that we've identified the why, you can think about the types of jobs that fit into your category. There's so many possibilities. To make it more comprehensible, I will give 2 examples. One from a technical domain and one from a non-technical domain. Let's say you're an engineering student and want to design satellite parts. That is far on the experience side of the line. It sounds like a job that requires you to be on the company's premises, so it's likely that you're limited to your region. There may only be a handful of places in your region that can potentially offer a job like that. These jobs have certain requirements on the candidates. You may have some relevant skills, but in most cases, senior students will qualify. That means you'll have to wait until you're more qualified. Plus, you'll have to be very patient because there are not many opportunities. So, is that it? Should you just wait or give up? Not at all. Let's move to the center of the line. And let's be a little bit more specific with what we're looking for. Let's say you have some experience with programming and you've done some things with microcontrollers like an Arduino as a hobby. We add a little bit of electrical engineering flavor to your skill set. Skills that you could potentially use to design satellite parts, but your skills are still very basic and there's no opening in the space sector at the moment. But you find there are a few hundred companies in your town that build all kinds of electronics and embedded systems. What if you landed a job in one of these companies and instead of designing satellite parts, you find yourself designing something for consumer electronics? This may not help you to build a network in the space industry, but it will significantly improve these specific skills that are relevant in many ways to designing satellite parts. So while you have that job for a few months, keep looking out for jobs that are more relevant to you. From that strong position, you will have much better chances to jumping onto your industry. Now let's go to the other end of the line, where income has a priority. Even if income has priority, you can of course have a shot at opportunities on the experience side of the line. But in parallel, you may have to go for the safe option. Typical jobs on this side are working as a waiter, in a warehouse, in a call center, as a receptionist. You get the idea. But is that really bad? Sounds like it when you put it in direct comparison to a job like designing satellite parts. But it all depends on with what perspective you approach a job. You're an engineering student and you took a job in an Amazon warehouse. A very basic job with routine tasks. But if you keep your eyes open, you can observe how this massive company organizes its processes. You'll get insights in one of the most professionally run companies. You see the machines, the automation in the process line. It's all engineering. You can ask questions to your supervisors to learn more about how everything is organized in the background. Your observations can be useful when you join a small company later that may struggle with implementing workflows. Okay, here's an example from a non-technical domain. Let's say you study psychology. I assume it's quite difficult to find a student job in a therapy office or in a research facility. Maybe some experience is also required for these positions. What's in the middle then? Let's look at relevant skills. One of the most important skills of someone working in the mental health sector is communication. Let's say you want to be in more situations where you can talk to people who share their problems. You want to improve your active listening skills. How about looking for a student job in elderly care or anywhere else where you are in close contact with people? And if you are on the income side of the line, even a job as a waiter or waitress may be useful to improve your communication skills. Now that we have a good idea of what types of jobs you want to look for, we need to actually find these jobs. I'm going to mention some of the obvious places to look for first. Professional job portals like Indeed often have filters that allow you to look for student part-time jobs. There are many regional job portals that specifically advertise student jobs. I've listed a few in the description. Then there are job portals that are specific to the domain. In the space industry alone, there are at least a handful of websites that only list space-relevant jobs. There are some job portals that allow you to upload your CV. There are also recruitment agencies, but I don't have any data on how effective these methods are for students. Jobs are sometimes posted in relevant social media groups, like LinkedIn, so make sure to subscribe to those groups. Look at the job portal of your university, but also other universities that are in your region. Besides universities, there are many independent state-funded and private research organizations that hire students. In Germany, institutions like Fraunhofer, Helmholtz, Leibniz and Max Planck are well known. For aerospace students, the German Aerospace Center GLR is very relevant. You can find databases with companies in your field. The Chamber of Commerce usually has one. There are partner networks and societies in almost every domain that list their members. I tell my students to go to a website where they can find products. An example from the space industry is satsearch.co. Type in what systems you would like to build as an engineer, and suddenly you see dozens of companies that I'm sure weren't on your radar before. Bigger companies normally have their own databases with job advertisements. Browse for job fairs in your region. Universities often organize their own job fairs. Sometimes it can be useful to go to a conference, fair, or expo to get an overview of companies and what they do. These are not career fairs, and there are many people that talk to each other, so don't expect to get a job as a result, but you can follow up with a person, build a relation, and see if something comes up in the future. So far, I only mentioned where to find job advertisements and organizations. But what if there is no good job advertisement for you? Can you still apply to organizations? The answer is yes, most definitely. Most companies provide an email address for initiative applications. You never know what projects these companies have in their pipeline. They don't always advertise all positions. If they see that you have a good profile, they may invite you to an interview. If you're looking for a basic job like in a restaurant, it can be helpful to just get in touch personally. Simply have a look at the place, bring your CV, and have a quick chat. This can improve your chances significantly if they're already thinking of stocking up staff in the near future. Then there's networking. Oh, networking. Very hard to express a simple formula for utilizing a network to get a job. There are too many ways to build a network. Through meetups, events, fairs, conferences. I won't list them all here, but more importantly, what happens next after you added someone to your network? Many students ask me whether I know someone at this or that company, but unfortunately it doesn't work like that. The people I know may work on something totally different, and they don't usually have an open position waiting to be filled. A company has different departments with different projects, and things are quite dynamic. So most of the time, the answer I get from my contacts is, it's best if the student applies through HR, then they can see if things can be matched. From my experience, networking is more subtle. As an example, take university departments. It takes 1 or 2 semesters for all students, lecturers, and program managers to identify the very best students. They do an excellent job in project-based courses, are very engaged, and often have 1 or 2 extra skills. In many cases, they offer their help and volunteer. If you think about it, you probably have 1 or 2 names of classmates like that in your mind. Now, the department acquires a new research project with a student job allocated to it. So the researchers ask their colleagues, including the lecturers, if they know a good student. Who do you think will be mentioned in our conversation? Who do you think will be called in for a short chat? Even if the job ad is published later and people can apply, the employers want to place a safe bet. The same thing goes for companies. If one of your classmates works in one company, he or she may recommend you as soon as the company is looking for new people. If income is not at all relevant for you, you can volunteer. Either ask your department or NGOs. Companies often won't take volunteers though. Either they can't have people working for free by law, or they want someone they can rely on by paying for the service. If you do a really good job while volunteering, you can ask for more responsibility. This can put you in a strategic position in which you take part in planning future projects or come in touch with external people who can point you in a direction. Now we know exactly where we want to apply. Preparing a good application is a separate topic and worth several videos. For now, I will only focus on the main steps. You need to prepare good application documents. That includes a motivation or cover letter and your CV. I'm not going to talk about how to write these documents here, but make sure you get them right. Use your search engine and read a few blogs and watch a few videos about how to prepare these documents and how to avoid the most common mistakes. The majority of documents that I see don't follow these common sense rules. There are sloppy mistakes, formatting issues, too much text, no focus on the value proposition. I could go on forever. These things show that the candidate doesn't do basic research when approaching a problem and doesn't pay attention to details. It would be really sad to have a no-go CV because all the effort you invest in finding a job is obsolete then. In your application, make sure that you propose value to the company based on what they need. Extract it from the job description or from the company's profile. Don't focus too much on what you will learn from working in that company. You're not applying for an internship or a thesis. We're talking about a job. An organization is paying you for your service. Let someone check your CV and motivation letter. Universities often have a career center. Ask one of your lecturers. Worst case, someone you know who can give good feedback. One question I get asked quite often is whether you should add a picture to your CV. Although it is not required to add a picture in some countries, it is still kind of a tradition. We're humans and seeing a face with a professional and friendly attitude undeniably has an impact on us. So if you want to add a picture, it is very much worth to go to a photo studio and have it taken professionally. The costs are in the lower 2 digits in euros or dollars, and once taken, you can use them for several years. Prepare other documents that are often required, like your transcripts, letters of recommendation, contact details of your supervisors or previous employers. The person you want to ask for a letter of recommendation should be someone who has worked with you in some way. If you just started studying, then maybe a lecturer who has seen your performance in class. The more the person can talk about your hard skills and character, the more relevant the context is for your application the better. In case you're invited to an interview, make sure to be prepared. Don't wing it. Again, use a search engine and invest a few hours to prepare answers to typical questions. Do some background research about the company and the position. Also make sure to put your social media settings on private or make sure that you have a professional appearance on the web. Someone may check up on you. I want to add a comment about the time you spend on each application. You will read online that the more you invest in tailoring your application documents to a certain organization, the higher your chances are to be invited to an interview. I can underline that. Simply imagine a pile of 50 applications for one position. You need to stick out. But if you invest a day for each tailored application, you may soon lose motivation and traction, and you may end up sending just 1 or 2 applications only. But you will also read online that students often must send out dozens of applications to get invited to a single interview. But you can't invest hundreds of hours for the job search, right? So how does it work? I suggest the following approach. Take your top 3 job ads or organizations, places that you would really love to work at because they're relevant or exciting, whatever it is for you. Most likely they're more on the experience side of the line. This has priority. Invest most of your time and energy to prepare outstanding applications with tailored motivation letters, maybe half a day or full day for each. Now take 10 job ads in places that are not perfect, but still are a quite good fit for you. Take your standard motivation letter and maximum 1 hour to tailor each application. It's a good compromise. Now, if you're considering the income end of the line, take your standard application documents and send them out to 50 organizations. This last step will altogether take only a few hours. Don't forget that there may be limitations about the number of hours you can work as a student. Also about the type of job that you can take. Employment may be possible, but is freelance work or founding a company possible? The regulations can differ in each country. Be aware that having a job consumes time you may need for doing your coursework. It means that you may have to study a bit longer. That also depends on how you organize yourself. Sure, it's right to ask yourself if it's worth having a job. If you need the money, the answer is obvious. But what about a job mainly for the experience? If you only focus on your courses, you may be able to graduate sooner and enter the job market. In almost all cases that I've seen, it's worth to have a relevant student job. The opportunities that you will gain with the experience outweigh the fact of finishing your degree program earlier. It also depends on the cost structure of your program, but if that's irrelevant, a delay of 1 or 2 semesters is absolutely fine. But I've also seen students that have delayed their studies for several years. If you enjoy student life, that's one thing. But I feel that you will gain more professionally and financially if you go into the job market reasonably early. If you're looking for experience only and don't necessarily want a job commitment, there are other ways to collect experience. I have a video with 12 tips that will boost your career as a student. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Let me know if getting a job worked for you. And if you have more tips to share with me and the viewers, write them down in the comments. Also let me know what topic you'd like me to cover in a video. If you want to get more content about improving your life as a student, simply subscribe and click on the notification button. Thank you and see you soon.